Perspectives Career Consulting Company. We are very happy to have Eugene Fleming III join us today as a part of our Career Spotlight. In a few minutes, I'm going to ask Eugene to introduce himself, and then I'm going to dive in and ask him some questions. So we look forward to having a great time. We're going to talk about career transitions and risk-taking in his career. So Eugene, it's all yours. You can introduce yourself, and then we will start with questions.
Well, hello, Kaisha. My name is Eugene Fleming III. Excited to be a part of this interview this afternoon. Yeah, like you said, I spent 20 years in the Army as a medic, as a nurse, retired in May of 2012, and currently living in San Antonio, Texas. I have a wife. We have 2 adult children, and unfortunately, I am a grandparent also, so we have 7 grandchildren. I'm just excited about life. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're happy to have you share your experiences with us here at Growing Perspectives. Okay. So the first question I'm going to ask you, you started sharing with us your background and your current job. So I'm going to ask you, share with us a little bit more about your current jobs, because you have more than one, and anything else you want to share about your education background.
Okay, yeah. So as I mentioned, I am a licensed practical nurse. I went through the nursing program in the United States Army. I joined the Army right out of high school. I was 18 years old, and started my military career as a medic, and did numerous tours, numerous places, numerous hospitals, deployments. And I'm currently working as a licensed practical nurse in the Polytrauma Rehab Center here in San Antonio, Texas at the VA hospital. And I'm also doing real estate as a real estate agent. I've been doing that for a little over 3 years now, and that has been an exciting transition. I'm looking forward to doing real estate full-time here in the near season. And I have a bachelor's degree in healthcare management that I accomplished while I was on active duty prior to retirement.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So your plate is full.
Oh, gosh, exciting. Yes. I'm glad to have a little bit of downtime on a Saturday afternoon, not doing real estate stuff right now. So yeah, it's full.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So tell us, what prompted you to pursue a career in healthcare?
Good question. And when I was in high school, I right in my senior year, I decided that I wanted to join the Army, and had cousins that were in the military prior to me joining, and I talked to them, and I was wanting to, do a job that I knew in the military, that I knew that once I got out of the military that I could transition into a civilian setting and still do that occupation. So when I talked to my recruiter decided to show me this video about the healthcare specialist. And in the Army, we use the terms MOS, or military occupational specialty. And he mentioned the job of a healthcare specialist, what we call 91 Bravo. Showed me some videos of medical folks in a hospital taking care of patients. And I said, that's what I wanted to do. And I kind of like, once I got my feet in the door and got through the training, got to my first duty station, is when I realized that I wanted to continue doing healthcare fields. So I went ahead and went back to school for an LVN, licensed vocational nurse. And that's what I currently am doing now.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So there's another question connected to your healthcare decision after you left the military. How did you decide that you wanted to continue pursuing the healthcare field once you transitioned from the military?
Very easy question to ask that. I have bills to pay, have family to take care of. And so yeah, I knew that I had to continue working. I retired at 38, and I wasn't financially situated to not work. And so my wife and we talked it over. I took about 2 months off before I even decided to even look for employment. And but being here in San Antonio, I knew that healthcare field, healthcare industry was really big, and it was one of the jobs that I could easily find a job in doing, and so I didn't have to learn a new trade or a new skill, and so I decided to just continue doing what I was doing in the Army, and I love doing it, helping, caring for people, and that just made this job easy. Yeah.
That's perfect. And I
Mhm.
like what you mentioned about the research that you did in your area. So you knew healthcare was a booming industry. So that was
Yes.
awesome also.
Yeah, definitely.
So what keys helped you transition successfully from the military to your current job?
Hmm. Well, most importantly, I would say my relationship with God through Christ Jesus. I am a faith believer. I learned early in my military career that I needed to have a strong foundational relationship with God through Christ to allow me to be able to do the things that we are asked to do in the military. And so, in saying that, I always was a person that's try to speak faith, believe faith, have a mindset that, hey, I can do whatever I put my mind to do. What God has for me is for me, and He's ordered my steps thus far in my military career, and I know that He will continue to do it. And so I just kind of apply those biblical foundational principles that I was using through my military career, and I just say, okay, God, you brought me here, you have me and my family here in Texas for a reason. So I know that all will be well. So I just kind of, yeah, that's pretty it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So my next question is, in your career, because you have a very diverse career, military, healthcare, real estate.
Mhm.
I'm just curious, when you made these transitions, have you had to take any risk in your career?
Oh man, yeah. My military career has always been risk taking. I had 3 deployments during my time of 20 years in the military. Every time we go to a new base, anytime you're moving your family, you're kind of going from a new job in a new position. As you're growing in the military from rank to rank, there's always the risk that comes involved with it. I like to answer this question in a net fold is saying my greatest risk was when I decided that I was going to retire.
Hmm.
And the reason I want to say that was, to me, that was the greatest risk taker, because up until I decided to get out of the military, my only job that I had from 20 years was, before 20 years, was in high school, and I worked at KFC. So I was a young kid, and doing fast food, and really didn't have to worry about interviews or anything like that. So when I joined the Army, I didn't have to do an interview. I didn't have to try to learn how a new field was going to be. Military structure was just I knew what I was going to be having to do, and I knew what was going to be expected of me. We had that concept of, it was always about the team. You always was taught that we take care of each other. So getting out of the military and figuring out, going back and learning interviews and resumes, and all the things that civilian jobs required, was a little scary initially. But then again, like I said, I just reached back into my scriptural foundation, my relationship, and say, okay, God, I know that you've given me peace with the decision that I was making to retire. And now I just got to trust you and then just walk it out. And so it was talking to a lot of people. It was asking questions. It was networking. The last question that you asked me, there was a training that we went through. It's called ACAP. And I'm sorry, let me go back and look at the acronym for it. It
That's
is
fine.
Army Career Alumni Program. So basically what this program does is it kind of tells us and prepares us for retiring and going in the civilian sector. Talk about us going through and doing resumes and interviews and all of these things that prepare you for transition. And one of the most important things that the ACAP program did for me was it just kind of let me know about the VA program, all the different programs that the VA offers veterans to help them make that transition into the civilian sector. So that was enormous help for me, kind of gave me that peace of mind to say, okay, hey, I know I can do this once I get out. So the risk was there, but I felt very calm in doing with the process.
And that's awesome. And I like when you shared with us, you said your previous job before going into the military was as a teenager.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you really let us know, after 20 years, that was a huge step to decide to retire at that point and learn all the additional steps that was needed to transition.
Yeah, that was enormous.
Oh yeah, it is. I'm listening. I'm like 20 years. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. And you did it successfully with all the
Thank you.
tools that were available.
Yes.